So looking around, I mean, this is the center, the central kitchen. What's it look like to you? What's it feel like to be here in this space?
Well, I remember when this was just all vacant, but to just see it rebuilt, I mean, it's beautiful. It's coming to life. You've got things growing. You have kids coming here for field trips. You've got high school kids coming here for internships.
And it's feeding tens of thousands of kids.
It's feeding tens of thousands of kids. It was doing that during the pandemic, right? I mean, something we were nationally recognized for.
Tell us what roles you've held here in Oakland Unified School District.
Oh man, I feel like I've held so many different roles. I'd say first in high school, I did my high school internship at Markham Elementary teaching dance. So that was like my first unofficial role. And then I was a teacher, mainly elementary, but I taught middle school math in the summertime. And I left the district for a couple of years, actually right when we went into state receivership. And then I came back and I was a principal, and then I coached principals. I led curriculum and instruction. I was a principal supervisor. And then deputy superintendent for a short stint, and then ended up being a superintendent.
You've now been superintendent for coming up on 8 years. It's the longest serving superintendent in Oakland Unified School District in 55 years.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, really just locking in on the purpose, right? Which is to try to, improve the system in order to improve quality and student learning. And I think there's just a lot of mental health, mental strength in terms of, kind of ignoring and blocking out noise and distraction. A lot of political distraction, and not getting discouraged by how much there is to improve, and really figuring out, right? It's like one bite at a time. What's one thing that we can focus on and improve, and then what's the next thing? So you have to have a laser focus, because it can be overwhelming, right? Because you're trying to push against systemic oppression and just a lot of systems that haven't been working for a lot of different communities for a long time. And you can't fix it all at once. Obviously, I'm proud of us being able to get out of state receivership, both on the financial side and the academic side, like not having to be a district that constantly has oversight and some decision-making powers kind of usurped by the county and the state. I think that is one, because it really resets the foundation and enables the organization to spend less time on crisis and more time, kind of improving the experiences for students and adults in our system. I would say, too, a lot of what we've done around our pillar of joyful schools, and everything from, when I came in here, there were very few kind of like athletic programs. And the little that we did have, because we hadn't been taking care of the money, there was so much that we just had to decimate. We had to rebuild it from scratch. We rebuilt it with better systems, better partnerships. And I would say our increase in both our sports programs, our expanded learning programs, our arts, is one of the reasons that we've been able to, mitigate some of the enrollment, decline, because they do attract students and families.
How hard was it to get the district to this point? And how important is it to you that you were the person that kind of led that final push?
Very important, right? It obviously could have been done before. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before. A lot of trying to accomplish things in a bureaucracy is like intense focus, right? And a lot of the sweet spot of that was a lot of teaching, right? And helping to teach people the connection between financial stability and system improvement and student learning. It's not just about having money in the bank account. It's a necessary requirement to improve a system. And so, it was a lot of spending time, not just at the finance department, but in schools, with community, like helping people see why it's so important for us to get to a point of stability. Improvement in a bureaucracy in a large system, it takes time, right? There's a saying of being impatiently patient. I mean, you have to lead with urgency, but there's really no magical improvement that you can make in 2 years, right? That's not how systems work. And so I think, if you're just here for a couple of years, it's easier to not deal with that and to say, okay, I'm just going to create a program, right? And I think that's what's been a lot of the past practice. One of my favorite, there's so many, but I did a lot of fundraising with my kids so that we could go on field trips every month. So we used to sell nachos in the playground, and we went to Alcatraz, we went to the Tech Museum in San Jose, we went to the Exploratorium, we went to the Fortune Cookie Factory. I mean, we would just go all over, because some of my kids, we didn't have money, right? I mean, back to some of our financial issues, we didn't have money for field trips. So it was a fun thing that we did together. A lot of times the parents went, and it was just a great way to, just enhance the learning experience and build community with the students. Two things that I remember. One is being able to actually, redo our play yard. And I did that, in partnership with, I had support from city council at that time and, our growing PTA.
You were talking about at Sequoia.
When I was at Sequoia Elementary, to really redo the playground, which similarly hadn't been rebuilt. I mean, just those 1980 monkey bars, and the padding was ripped up, and just a lot of concrete. And we did a lot of listening sessions. Because when I took over the school, we were about 225 kids, and so much feedback from the folks that were starting to move into the community. They were like, look, when I come down Lincoln Avenue, I see this shabby play yard, and my kid's going to be there from 8 to 3, probably 8 to 6. Like, that's before I even come into the building, right? If that doesn't appeal to me, I'm going to look elsewhere. I mean, it's been the good, the bad, and the ugly. Obviously, like a litany of spicy moments, but, everything from being able to see computer science scale, across all middle schools, being able to see opportunities for work-based learning for kids scale, being able to track all of the wonderful opportunities that our alumni. I was just looking at my LinkedIn today. There's a student that used to go to Sequoia. Now he's at MIT getting his MBA. Obviously all of the playgrounds, the living schoolyards, all of the wonderful partnerships that we've had with community-based organizations that do provide so many wonderful opportunity for our students to enhance their learning experience. So it has been a lot of fun, and a lot of hard work.
What do you see in the near future for the district, and how do you see the district and its need to handle its financial situation? What does that look like moving forward?
Well, I think there's really two areas of focus for the district. I think one is normalizing taking care of money and realizing that financial resources are finite, right? And so whatever you have, you want to be clear about the priorities and make decisions to ensure that you have the funding for those set of priorities. And just being like you do with your own finances, just making sure that you're managing appropriately, that you are constantly evaluating, right? Where maybe you're spending money, where you're not getting the biggest impact. Okay, maybe we should divert the funds over there. So I think it's a habit of mind. Again, it's not just for the CBO, it's really anybody who's in charge of money, right? So that's going to be a principal, it's going to be a coordinator, it's going to be a program manager. There are a lot of people within a large system that are responsible for making good decisions with the funding, right, that they have. So it's a collective, and that's part of the story. If that's not a collective mindset, you're constantly going to be right in a crisis. So that's one. I think the second thing is, kids and parents are waiting for the next kind of evolution of learning, right, in our country. The world's changing. Our way of educating is not keeping pace. And that's feeding into the declining enrollment across the nation right now, because people are looking at, is the mode of education, right, going to prepare my kids for this world that I'm in now? And I think more and more the question is, I'm not sure. So in addition to making sure there's continued financial stability and solvency, it's also going back and having conversations with community around what's the type of learning, right, that's going to keep kids engaged and keep kids, joyful and wanting to come to school. And what are those programs, that are going to attract, right, families back, right, into our school systems, but public school systems in general. The housing and the cost of living in the Bay Area is a real issue for people who want to continue to be in the public sector, because the salaries and the cost of living aren't keeping. And that's where a lot of the tension that we hear comes from. So that has to be an area where the district continues to prioritize funding, because if people can't live here, they're not going to be able to work here. And if they do, it won't be for very long. The other day, I took my mom out for breakfast, and we were at Sequoia Diner, and I was like, oh, Mom, I want to come show you these playgrounds, And she was like, so excited. She used to work in the district too. So I think, just being able to be proud of the late legacy and what's been accomplished. And so looking back fondly, no regrets.
Yeah, of course, no regrets. Anything in particular that you're going to, you kind of mentioned, even just like driving down the street, you'll see something that you had a role in creating. Like one of these either in playgrounds, one of the Trust Public Land playgrounds, one of the new buildings that we got passed through Measure Y, this center.
Yes, exactly. Like I remember when all this stuff was planted and all of the meetings trying to figure out, okay, why was this thing never built? And, just getting this built.
Yeah, and looking around, what does it say to you about the progress that we've made as a district?
It's been tremendous, right? It's just, that's back to focus. You have to zoom in and zoom out, right? Whenever you zoom out, right, you're like, holy bleep, there's so much more to do, right? But then you got to zoom in and go, what's the next step, right? Because if you get overwhelmed by it so much, then you never do anything. And community and kids suffer. There's some things maybe you can't move in the system. You need community to move. You need the support of the city to move. You need the support of the state to move. You need the support of others. And so you start having a better understanding of who are the right folks in the community so that you can move quicker. And I think that's what's been great about the living schoolyards, is we could not as a system have redone all of those schoolyards on our own at the pace that we did. One of my favorite events that we went to was at Northeastern University, and some of our kids that are getting full scholarships for 4 years with housing and food, and we've got kids that want to be neuroscientists and that want to do all those amazing things. Like, that image of our kids sometimes gets lost, right? With all the craziness, there are so many brilliant kids in our system that are leaving and doing amazing things. And I've run into them.
What does the city of Oakland mean to you?
It's home, right? It's everything from, I remember taking art classes in Mosswood Park in the summertime through a partnership at UC Berkeley called Young Musicians Program. I had the benefit of getting free piano lessons. So I played classical music for 13 years. I used to take, when I was a teacher, African dance after school with other teachers at the Malanga Center when it used to be Ellis Arts. So there's just a lot of just history and memories, right, of kind of village and just loving on youth, supporting youth, and wanting us, I know we're in a really challenging moment right now, but kind of getting back to like building the new infrastructure to be able to have a healthy city when you have healthy kids.
So you're standing right in front of a sign that says greenhouse is one direction, the bay is another direction, Mexico's another direction. This leads me to my next question. What's next for you?
Well, just rest first and just being able to kind of reflect. Probably be doing a lot of different things. So stay tuned.
Change.